All right. All right, everyone. The Monday, September 25th meeting of the Marquette City Commission is now called to order at 6 p.m. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Clerk, if I could get a roll call.
Commissioner Hanley.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Ottaway.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stonehouse.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Here.
And Mayor.
Here. Thank you, City Clerk. All right, Commissioners, that brings us to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion on the agenda? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Commissioner Larson?
I second that.
Any discussion?
No.
All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, that brings us to announcements. I do have one announcement I wanted to share this evening. The 30th Annual Fire Prevention Kickoff Parade will be on Saturday, October 7th at 11 a.m. The display will be located on Bluff Street, directly behind the Washington Street Harlow Park. And with that, brings us to public comment. Members of the public have 3 minutes each per public comment. Please clearly state your name and physical address before giving comment, and feel free to approach the center podium.
My name is Jean Bauman. My physical address is non-existent. I live in the very teeny tiniest little corner of Powell Township on the southern end. My mailing address is 322 Eagles Nest Road. And I am here representing an organization called Days for Girls. I just wanted to let you know how important the Marquette Arts and Community Center has been to us this year. We're a small little group. We've been an organization here in Marquette just for about 3.5 years. We were getting our feet on the ground when COVID hit, and you know, everybody's been through COVID, but we persisted. What we are is a local team of an international organization that was formed because of the need of more than 500 million women in the world for healthy menstrual means to deal with their monthly cycles. And women and girls are, in many places, are not allowed to work, can't participate in school, sitting on rags or on pieces of cardboard to deal with their menstrual flow. That's why the organization started. And we started with that international view, but we also became aware of local need, and so we are not only participating in international work, but we have been active in providing menstrual solutions, alternative things, little kits that we make with bolts of fabric in with materials that aren't going to cause some women to develop rashes from the chemicals and disposable things. We distribute locally through the NMU Food Pantry. In less than a year, we've distributed over 200 kits. I know that 180 of them are in the hands of students that are in need, and they're using them. They're not using disposables. They're not filling the landfill. They're not spending $20 or $30 a month that they really can't afford or could use better to improve their lives. So I'm here to thank you for your support of the Marquette Arts and Culture Center. They saved us this year. We were meeting periodically in a church that has moved their facilities more into the daycare, which is another big problem. you to Tina and her staff. Also, I want you to
I'm sorry,
know
ma'am, I'm gonna have to cut you off at 3 minutes.
Tai Chi at the senior
I have to cut you off, ma'am.
is part of my well-being.
Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Hello, I'm Janice Peterson. I live at 932 South Lake Street. I'm here for two reasons. One, to thank Arts and Culture for all the things that happen here, arts-wise. I came here to be a graduate assistant, fell in love with Lake Superior and the out-of-doors, and then became the orchestra director in the public schools for 37 years, and now I'm very involved with the symphony, 27 years. It's the arts that bring beauty to my life and are what keep me here in Marquette. The Arts and Culture Center does a fabulous art week every June, and I've been involved with that, and it is the thing that gives me something to look forward to, that makes me want to keep moving and keep doing good things. They also are involved in just about everything that happens arts-wise. So the second part of my talk to you today is that building that I passed on the way here. When you first come into town, it used to be the Chamber of Commerce, thank you. It's been a while. That building is just kind of a little bit of an eyesore now, and it could be an incredible greeting to anybody coming into town. It could be a place of beauty. It could be a place where arts organizations come together and collaborate. The symphony perhaps could share a cubicle with the city band. I'm just throwing it out there. To maybe have a copy machine and a place to house their music. It could be a place for art displays and outdoor concerts and amazing things that make our community better. Thanks.
Do we have anyone else for public comment?
Diane Cordich. I live at 540 South Lake Shore, number 29. I'd like to thank the Arts and Culture Department for bringing economic development to our area. You do not realize how many tourists come during the summer, or maybe you do because parking seems to be getting smaller and smaller. But the arts and culture, the history, people are returning here, trying to find housing and places to vacation. And arts and culture is the key to good economic development. So I'd like to thank the city and Tina and her crew for doing a yeoman's job. The Art Week has become bigger and bigger every year. And the people that have the booklet are trying to go to every event available. I mean, they're like rabid. And for the first time, I went to, Hurley Park. Where was the square dancing? Yes, Hurley Park. And it was family good fun. And I thoroughly enjoyed it, watching people square dance. And I thought, well, there's something for everybody. So I'd like to thank you again for supporting arts and culture.
Anyone else for public comment? Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, public comment is now closed. That brings us to our first and only presentation for this evening, which is the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee by Chair Jamie Weeder.
Did you pass these out or no? They have them all? Perfect. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Jamie Weeder, the Chair of the Marquette City Arts and Culture Advisory Committee. My task tonight is to faithfully represent and articulate the accomplishments, challenges, and opportunities of the City of Marquette Office in Arts and Culture. Our mission is to advise the City Commission in its effort to support, facilitate, and grow an empowered, cultural, creative community. Who is the Office of Arts and Culture? It's made up of 3 awesome people, Tristan Loma in a shared position, Amelia Pruitt, part-time, and Tina Moran at full-time. Now this is gonna embarrass them, but the sheer amount of work, content, and brain power cultivated by these 3 awesome people really defies logic. And we should know, as the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee members, Travis Gerhardt, Caden Reed, Peter Felsman, John Teichman, Madeline Arquette, Madeline Goodman, Walker Derby, and myself make up the office's team of committed volunteers. I, Jamie Weeder, have been a committee member since 2018. I've watched and supported this office for 5 years, been honored and humbled to take part of our evolution, challenges, and remarkable growth. You guys remember that mission I said earlier? It was a loaded sentence. It was full of subjective buzzwords and unquantifiable metrics wrapped tidily up in a simple, flowery phrase. And I could spend the next 8 minutes giving you more of the same, sharing the accomplishments and projects taken on by the Office of Arts and Culture this last year, showing you all these warm and fuzzy images of familiar faces doing fun little projects, but I don't really need to do that. We have an entire magazine for that you should have in front of you. What I'm really here to talk to you about is why this work really matters and how this office supports not only the Arts and Culture Master Plan, but the city's master plan. This word, right? Let's just throw it away for now. It has a way of distorting, misrepresenting, and cornering what we do. It can make people feel stupid. It could possibly make them feel elementary or make you think it's ornamental or a trinket. The committee has discussed rebranding as directed by the Arts and Culture Master Plan to better articulate the work of the office. And tonight I will instead use the word that truly encompasses the office's function. Why does culture matter? How does culture support the city's master plan? One of the goals of the city is to serve and attract new residents. There is a perception out there as to what attracts people to Marquette. Outdoor rec, a great trail network, a unique and immaculate environment, the novelty of bears running down our main drag. We give substance to, resources, and a great deal of regard to this perception. It is big business, after all. Why else, though? For one, I just happened to move here, and I discovered a place that I believe has the largest and most diverse cultural offerings in the UP, or maybe even Michigan, rich with cultural experiences and amenities for all ages. And I thought that 8 years ago. And since then, there's been so many new and growing festivals, conferences, events, new creative businesses, new private-public art, and so much more. This sort of cultural vibrancy attracts the kind of residents you want in a city. Casey and John Scheibe moved from New York City during COVID-19. They both work remotely. Casey is an accountant. John is a content creator and award-winning film producer of 2 short films shot and produced locally and with local talent. How do we do this? Tangibly, we manage a physical space in the lower level of the Peter White Public Library since 2000. Marquette Arts and Culture Center studio spaces in the DO Gallery, home to many art classes, clubs, rehearsals, and a city-owned fine art gallery. Intangibly, we offer advocacy, resources, consults, grant assistance, professional development, and community connections. Did you know that the city was essential in growing and developing these cherished organizations? We have been doing this for the last 32 years. 8 years ago, the AOC their guidance and reinforcements counseled me in the creation of my own nonprofit, the Upper Peninsula Shakespeare Festival. You built this. The City Commission in 1991 built this cultural office that has served not only as a welcome mat to new residents, but ensures that the culture continues to thrive. Culture is what makes Marquette Marquette. Zoom out a bit. This past year, the city has been updating its master plan. Now, 2 of the 6 identified themes stand out to us. Honor our entire history and encourage development and vibrancy to our commercial districts and corridors. In other words, placemaking. Intentionally integrating our culture into our city's community and infrastructure. So who in the city is responsible for ensuring that this happens? What is the role of culture in government? Does placemaking happen naturally? Well, yes and no. To be successful, it has to be intentional. There needs to be continued investment in the creative sector and resources provided to ensure that we have creative placemaking, public art, thriving festivals and events, arts education, and mentorships to grow the next generation of placemakers. Some of you may think of our office as a programming entity that makes pretty posters, creates photo ops, makes the community happy, but moreover, we are the experts at using the most effective economic development, engagement, and communication tools. As the only municipality in the UP with an office dedicated to culture, we're off to a great start. The office's projects and initiatives aren't just pretty colors. They activate city-owned public spaces and engage residents with their own community. The Hurley Park basketball court mural revitalized a public playing space in disrepair. Simultaneously, the playground was updated by the Rotary Clubs of Marquette. The new mural engaged the public with a process of choosing the design and growing a sense of ownership and pride in the space. The Marquette Public Art Commission ultimately selected the public choice, Detroit-based artists Ivan Montoya and Joey Solomon, adding a vibrancy to the space and highlighting a previously overlooked South Marquette neighborhood. But the office didn't stop there. The space was reactivated this summer during the City of Marquette Art Week. Activities were on the playground, there was square dancing and concerts on the lawn. Someone told me that they have lived 2 blocks away from Hurley Park for most of their life and they have never even been there until Art Week this year. Father Marquette lines Lakeside Park, the space with arguably the best natural acoustics, as we discovered during this year's Art Week, has been restored and hopefully revitalized for a community to be enjoyed. The park was home to the first city band concert in Marquette, the first Art on the Rocks, and is the future home to our very own cultural trailhead, overlooking the city's first piece of Indigenous public art and connecting people to the entire history of this place. To this end, the office has applied for grant funding. And at Matson Lower Harbor Park, we will activate residents with future public art projects, the Dragonfly sculpture at the new Kids Cove, and the Oscillation Winter Light Festival. Beyond physical spaces, we activate people with our programs, creating platforms for education, collaboration, resource sharing, and more. Please refer to your State of the Arts handouts coming up this January. We encourage you to come. And we have 2 massive cultural projects on the horizon in collaboration with city divisions and departments. The Cultural Trail, a step towards an equitable story along our shoreline, and the Presque Isle Bandshell, a long overdue capital improvement project for a cherished venue. And to prove the efficacy of your very own in-house community engagement tool, the OAC, we got a case study. You also have that right in front of you. Art Week 2023. The impact. We activated spaces and engaged the public in a productive, fun way. We built community. The revenue, yes, we generated actual dollars. The value, bringing residents to new spaces, exposing them to new things, initiating and facilitating discovery and understanding. And the tools. What other platforms, programs, or spaces exist for no other purpose than to have an actual cultural conversation in our community with no time limit, where nothing is decided, nothing is being sold, and no test will be taken. A space for simply learning and exploring. The result? A week of lowering perceived barriers and bringing the community an opportunity to engage outside the traditional confines of assumed engagement. Art Week is a micro example of what we do on a macro level every single day. So let's go back to that word. Art is actually an arsenal of devices. It's a Swiss Army knife to provoke, educate, uplift, and communicate. Art is the tool. Our next year's theme for Art Week is Grow. How will the City Commission use this tool to grow? To conclude the presentation, I'd like to offer my thanks to your attention and support of the arts and culture initiatives in Marquette. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie, for the passionate presentation. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions or comments for her. Commissioner Hanley?
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you. That was an amazing presentation.
Thank you. Sorry I
really
left.
enjoyed every bit of that. It was engaging and showed us in a way other than just stats and figures that we can read on paper, which I really appreciate. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Commissioner Smith?
Great presentation, and even more impressive than the presentation is all the work that's been done in the last year. So thank you to the team, thank you to the committee, and all the businesses and partners who've helped along the way. Yeah, it's a great place to be. Like you said, 8 years ago it was a great place to be, but it continues to be improved and expanded on, and it shows. So thank you. Love it.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
There's so much I want to say, but I don't even know where to start. Art Week this past year was absolutely wonderful. I took part in a lot of the activities, and like Diane, I was very thrilled to see all of what was going on at the Hurley Park. But there was so much more, and there was not enough time for me to participate in everything. So I'm looking forward to next year's, and I'm sure that you will step it up even more. But the Arts and Culture Department, or the programming, really adds so much to our community. And I do talk to people who come here because of the culture and the arts. So thank you.
I would just add, the amount of work that the team puts into this, the vibrancy of it, you really do see it throughout our community. And I set myself a goal of attending at least one event each day of Art Week, and I was able to do that plus a few extra. I also wasn't able to do everything, but it was fantastic this year, and I look forward to next year's as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Sorry I didn't catch your attention earlier, Mr. Mayor, but a couple of things. I think what makes the program so powerful and so successful is the engagement of virtually everybody. When you look at the different groups in town, whether it's a children's group or an adult group or a history group or whatever it is, they're all involved, and not just in Art Week, which is really just a flash in the proverbial pan. When you look at 52 weeks of the year, 1 week set aside for art. No. Art runs all year long in various forms and shapes. So I think that's really important for all of us to realize. By virtue of what I do, I travel a fair amount, and I travel in and out of harbors a fair amount. And I can tell you that Marquette certainly can hold its head up to any of them in the Great Lakes, and many of them along the East Coast too, for how you try to embrace the local culture and the local history in what could be called an art program. Very impressive, and certainly I think is an area that can grow as we further really step back into the lake that we have stepped away from 4 or 5 generations ago, to kind of change that focus a little bit to be, again, more engaging, wider scope. I would also hope to be able to see the shoreline trail of interpretive signage, I guess I'll call it, begin an installation. I think that's a critical part that we don't lose sight of in compared to other things we may be doing. Thank you, Your Honor. And great work. Please keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Great. All right. Moving on here, we're moving to our public hearings. The first one is our Budget and General Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2024. City Clerk, if we could have the background for this, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The City Commission held a budget conference on August 22nd, 2023. Tonight, a public hearing is scheduled to receive public comment on the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. Following this input, the Commission should consider any changes it wishes to make to the budget. Fiscal effect: an adopted budget is required to expend government funds. Recommendation: adopt the fiscal year 2024 Budget and General Appropriations Act. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. How do I want to do this? Commissioners, I will just put the offer out there. The city manager does kind of have a quick summarized presentation if anyone wants the refresher. If not, we can just move forward with this, but.
I think for the good of the public, it makes a lot of sense to allow the city manager to go ahead with that presentation.
That'd be all right?
That's fine.
if you're fine with just sitting here and kind of going on overview, are we good with that? Or do you want me to see another board? Perfect. All right. So, City Clerk, if you don't mind pulling up the file that we had. So essentially, back in August, we did do an all-day budget conference that was a special meeting and was televised and is posted out there. I did keep the reference date out there in case anybody does want to go back and take a look at that full video and be able to kind of move through things. But we did do a condensed version for tonight to talk about this. I can talk about the budget and about our financial position all day long if you'd like, but I think we all have other things that we want to cover today. But real high level, we have what is being proposed and considered tonight and is up for the public hearing, just to make the public aware, are several funds, more than just the general fund. And the general fund is only a small portion of that if you think about it. All of the funds that are up for consideration tonight total $97 million. That is no number to just blink at, really. That is a very big number. And while we are really focusing on the general fund right now, and in many of our discussions, that is really truly the core of a lot of those services and where those tax dollars are going. So what we're looking at right now is the fiscal year 24 general fund revenues. This is very similar to what was presented at the budget conference. Actually, the revenues are identical. And what you're seeing are taxes is our biggest revenue source. We're up to $12.4 million. That is our operating levy. That is increased from prior years because we had increased that millage, and this is that first full year for recognizing that. Our second two largest revenue sources are state shared revenue and then net payment in lieu of taxes, which is somewhat related to our property taxes as well, because it is just a different arrangement and would normally be considered otherwise. And that does include a lot of those affordable housing developments, but a lot of it's the BLP revenue that we receive, and then some of our other enterprise type operations that actually have a physical space here and operate as a business. So like our wastewater treatment plant, for example. State shared revenue is tied to sales tax. And then we also have our fees and other revenue that's generated, and those do have to be generated in a specific way. So when we start thinking about other revenue sources like permit fees, I'm going to use a specific example, such as our short-term rental inspections or registrations. That has to be used for a very specific purpose and cannot be used to generate an exorbitant amount of funding. So when we talk about looking for other revenue sources, I have heard public come out a number of times with some creative ideas talking about increasing those fees for Airbnb, since we do have so many, but that is not feasible and that's not legal at this point. So. And then if we look at grants as well, that is a very significant number too. Grant revenue usually is very much tied to an expenditure that is very much related. And in this case, this would be a bulk of it, is that playground that we saw last year, but is here again this year because we are moving into the next fiscal year for it. So total of just shy of $25.2 million for our general fund revenue. Moving on to expenditures, what you see, there's a number of ways we can break this down for everyone to understand. Again, I can go on for a long time talking about this. Sometimes we look at individual departments, but when we break it down to what our funding is really going to in the general fund, what our expenditures are, here's a really good snapshot. And we're looking at debt service is a significant number, but when we start talking about what services we provide, our people provide our services, and our people provide an excellent level of service and cover a lot of different things for our residents. And so when we do look at what our biggest expenditures are, we're looking at our people because they are providing that service, much needed. That includes payroll taxes, fringes, pension contributions. That was a hot topic recently. And then your supplies and services and capital outlay. And buried in there, though, are some of those transfers to other funds, such as our road funding and our Lakeview Arena, those types of things, which we are still providing a service through general fund contributions. I know this is pretty small to see, and we've posted a link to that, but what's important to talk about this is, yes, our expenditures are going to exceed our revenues this year again, and we have built up enough fund balance or reserves to be able to do so without impacting our services drastically. And so when we project out, it's important to look out when we're talking about any changes in the future or the need for change, when right now we haven't heard that, yes, decreasing services is a viable option right now if we have a long-term outlook that we can hold out and hold steady for. So when we look at this, this projection here, we are able to utilize fund balance, stay within our fund balance policy requirement, which has a floor and has a ceiling on that, a minimum and a maximum, and be able to utilize that for holding steady right now until our revenues become a little bit more stabilized. This, though, does say, hey, if we hold steady and we don't do anything, and that means no significant projects, and then we also means nothing negative can happen with our revenue sources. We all know we can't predict the future, right? So we are keeping an eye on this and identifying areas of where to respond if something were to happen in that case. Moving on to the next slide. We have to look at our debt service. I do present it in this format, and we did spend a number of minutes talking about debt service last time. But what's important to look here is to say that when we talk about the 5-year, 7-year plan, there's a significant portion of debt that will be retired over the years, and that's really going to be key. And when we look at this here, it's also key to focus on debt management and not continuing down a practice that perhaps we ended up getting into in order to fund some of our bigger capital projects. It will be looking more at putting away funding to reserve for paying cash, or at least a significant amount of cash. So that's important to kind of just highlight the timeline, and we also have to always focus on our debt when we do talk about budget. Other topics that we talked about during the budget conference were the other types of funds, not just general fund, but things that general fund contributes to or provides a service for our public. And we do have internal service funds. I've summarized them kind of here for you as well. That's talking about our IT, motor pool, our service center, and then our energy enhancements fund, which is focusing around that JCI project and the TELP payment that goes along with that and that asset. Meant to be self-sufficient and self-supporting. Moving on, we have our component units. We have 3 component units that are also included in here. That's the library, the Downtown Development Authority, and the Brownfield Authority. These budgets are developed, managed, and approved by appointing boards. They are approved of those separately and then come in for commission consideration or confirmation. The Brownfield Authority, and we're not going to go into a number of details here, but this table has been very helpful in past conversations. It talks about the projects that we have out there right now, when those will be completed, those plans will be completed, and what that future revenue will be. And so it's important to look at this list here because this is what's impacting the city tax revenue. We have a number of projects that are also within the DDA that impact the DDA capture, but those sometimes get lumped into a lot of those conversations as well. So when we look at talking about the future and the investment and the impact and what that will bring in for tax revenue, this one's a really, really great table to look at. DDA, similar table, but this is the table that highlights the impact and the future tax revenue that will be coming from those projects as well for the DDA. Special revenue funds are also a common question that we get. Those are our street funds, public art funds, sanitation, things like that, that are revenue for a very specific purpose and only intended to be used for those purposes. They can be restricted by local laws, state law, other things like that. And then anything that comes in has to be used for those purposes alone. So things that are coming in for street funds can't go into general fund, or street funds can't go into sanitation funds. So very specific and meant to be utilized for that. Enterprise funds are this similar in the sense that they are used for a specific purpose, but these operate more as a business, and they have a different set of accounting rules as well. Legally, we don't have to have budgets here for these funds, but they are important to also have so that we know what we're bringing money in for, spending money. But this includes our utility funds, tourist park, Lakeshore and Lighthouse Park, fuel systems, and the marinas. And within here, you can see revenue coming in and being utilized, and you can carry on a balance in order to pre-fund or set aside funding. Probably the most well-known funds here are going to be that water, sewer, wastewater, and stormwater funds. And that kind of gets us into when we talk about rates. So as presented last year and what had been presented when we did a rate study and an update for a 10-year plan, there is a rate increase that is anticipated. And it's important in order to continue rebuilding up those funds and then build up funds for improvements and to have reserves there. It's important to stay on this course. And that was something that was described and talked about at the budget conference and is shown here. So there's a lot of numbers here. It's kind of hard for people to see what does that really mean for us. So I really actually like the next slide here that talks, if you look over onto the right side of the screen, you see that dollar increase per month on an average. And I say average, this is just what we kind of use as a reference point. It is a standard that is used, I think, around the industry, and we talk about what that impact is going to be and the monthly impact. And when we look at for fiscal year 24, you're looking at a $7.34 cent increase per month for water and sewer and stormwater combined for the average user. So when we think about kind of our normal and average household, which I don't like to say normal or average because none of us are normal or average, right? So it just means something different for us. If you would like help understanding what that impact will be for your water bill, please let us know and contact us. We are certainly able to walk people through that. But if you kind of see and back into some of the math here, you can see what that impact's going to be, and you can project it out for yourself if you'd like. And then capital outlay. This is one we think about with our street repairs and street improvements. Very limited funding for fiscal year 24. We do have some funding set aside for our street improvement maintenance plan. That's heavy maintenance. That's that overlay, that chip seal, things like that. It's preserving the condition that we're in. It is not reconstruction or utility reconstruction or heavy utility reconstruction. We do have specific funding set aside for some other projects that have to do around with the safety, again, intended use for specific road projects that are along that trucking corridor, things like that. The Presque Isle dredging project, which is grant funded, is included in that. Some sewer and stormwater lining, and then we do have funds set aside for anything that does come up as an emergency that has to do with the utilities, and we do have to dig in there. So again, unfortunately, it's one that we have to take a pause on and get our bearings here and start saving funds before we start anything that's major at this point. Sometimes it's easy to look at a budget and say what we can't do. But when we look at the budget that we have in front of us, we look at all of the things that we have that are important to our community and that we're able to do. And every single one of these really impacts our life and our services that we provide to our community. And this is something that we've seen, I think, in a couple of presentations now for a couple of years, but it always is one that I like to highlight. So thank you, and I will entertain any questions or wait for the public hearing.
Anything from the commission? Okay. All right, with that, the public hearing regarding specifically the Budget and General Appropriations Act fiscal year 2024 is now open. Members of the public wishing to comment specifically on this item have 3 minutes to do so. Do we have anyone for public comment? Anyone for public comment? Bear with me, I have to ask 3 times. Do we have anyone for public comment? Okay, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hanley?
Sorry, I scrolled down.
Good.
I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2024 Budget and General Appropriations Act.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Hanley?
I am happy with the budget that we've put forth. I wish it could be better, but it will be in coming years. I think the work that the office or that the staff did to make this budget what it is amazing, and I'm happy to pass it.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Nothing except a big thank you to all of the hard work from from really all the staff that was involved in putting this together. It's a huge, huge undertaking and probably the most important thing that happens on a citywide level all year. And these guys do it seamlessly, it seems like, every year. So a big thank you from the top with Karen on down. And I look forward to doing it again next year.
Anything else from the commission? Okay. City Clerk, if I could get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. All right, that brings us to the second public hearing, which is the Cliffs Dow Brownfield Plan Amendment. City Clerk, if I could get the background, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. A brownfield plan amendment is being proposed to provide for continued brownfield TIF capture for assessment and remediation activities at the Cliffs Dow property. A public hearing must be established and held by the City Commission for the approval of the brownfield plan amendment. A brownfield plan for the original Iron Bay Business Park, Community Bioresource, was approved in 1999. An amended brownfield plan for the overall Cliffs Dow property was approved in 2010 to add eligible property and eligible activities. And this proposed amended brownfield plan for Cliffs Dow will provide for additional eligible activities and continued tax capture. The brownfield plan was presented to and approved by the Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority at their August 17th, 2023 meeting. This public hearing was scheduled at the September 11th, 2023 City Commission meeting. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, approve the Cliffs Dow brownfield plan amendment and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the resolution. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. The public hearing is now open. Again, members of the public have 3 minutes to speak specifically on this topic if they wish to do so. Do I have anyone for public comment on this item? Do I have anyone for public comment? Last time, do I have anyone for public comment? Okay, seeing none, the public comment is now closed. Commissioners, do I have a motion on this item? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I move we approve the Cliffs Dow Brownfield Plan Amendment and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the resolution.
Thank you. Do we have a second for that? Commissioner Larson?
I second that.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Just kudos to the city staff and our brownfield consultant for recognizing the potential for this amendment. And as I understand it, we'll be able to continue some of the work that we've done on this property, and we will be able to capture the state capture, which a really rough estimate that was given to me was $20,000 to $30,000 a year.
Commissioner Larson? No further comment. Okay. Anything from the commission? Okay. City Clerk, if I could get another roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. All right. That brings us to our third and final public hearing, which is the Founders Landing Brownfield Plan Amendment. City Clerk, if I could get the background again.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't know why I don't have that in front of me. A brownfield plan amendment is being proposed to remove part of parcel 0510571 of approximately 1.96 acres from the Founders Landing brownfield plan eligible property. The removal of this property would mean that all tax revenues generated by the sale and development would accrue immediately to taxing jurisdictions. A public hearing must be established and held by the City Commission for the approval of the brownfield plan amendment. The original Founders Landing brownfield plan was approved in April of 2009 and subsequently amended in July of 2009 to expand the eligible property and increase brownfield eligible activities on portions of the city-owned property that was positioned for sale and private redevelopment. The city retained all waterfront property and other portions of the property for public use. Over the past 14 years, over $50 million in private investment and $8 million in public investment has been made possible by brownfield tax increment financing, reimbursement of brownfield eligible activities derived from the increased incremental taxes generated by additional private investment. Brownfield TIF is reimbursing the costs for seawall/boardwalk use along the Lake Superior shoreline, the Baraga Avenue extension, improvements to the US 41 roundabout, and the pier redevelopment. Brownfield TIF is also reimbursing extraordinary environmental and non-environmental costs incurred by the private developers. The Brownfield plan was presented to and approved by the Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority at their August 17th, 2023 meeting, and this public hearing was scheduled at the September 11th, 2023 City Commission meeting. Fiscal effect, none. Recommendation, approve the Founders Landing Brownfield Plan amendment and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the resolution. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. The public hearing for this item is now open. Again, members of the public wishing to comment have 3 minutes to do so. Do I have anyone for public comment? Anyone for public comment? Last time, do I have anyone for public comment on this item? Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Commissioners, do I have a motion on this item? Commissioner Ottaway?
I move to approve the Cliff Dow Brownfield Plan amendment and allow the city clerk and mayor to sign it.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that? Or-
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like me to say that again? There's too many of them. What do you want me to do? Can I rephrase that, please? I move to approve the Founders Landing Brownfield Plan amendment and allow the city clerk and mayor to sign it.
Do I have a second on that motion?
Thank you, Suzanne.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Second, Your Honor.
Perfect. Commissioner Ottaway?
No comment.
I can't follow that act. No comment, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else from the commission? All right. City Clerk, if I could get a roll call vote?
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. All right. Commissioners, that brings us to our consent agenda. Do I have a motion on consent? Commissioner Ottaway?
Let's try this again. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second? Commissioner Smith?
Second?
Any discussion?
None.
No.
All right, and this will require a roll call vote. So City Clerk, if I can bother you again?
Commissioner Hanley,
Yes.
Commissioner Larson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ottaway,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Stonehouse,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
and Mayor.
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. All right, moving on to new business. We have item 6, which is our budget adjustment for fiscal year end of 2023. City Clerk, if we could get the background, please.
Absolutely. In order to stay in compliance with state and local laws and regulations, the city should complete each fiscal year with a budget in which actual expenditure amounts do not exceed budgeted amounts. The attached schedule illustrates funds with projected fiscal year end activities that exceed current budgeted amounts. Fiscal effect, approval of the adjustments will help ensure the city stays in compliance with budgetary rules and regulations. Recommendation, approve the budget adjustments for fiscal year 2023 and authorize the chief financial officer to make the necessary adjustments to balance the budgets. Alternatives, as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Stonehouse?
Your Honor, I motion to approve the budget adjustments for fiscal year 2023 and authorize the chief financial officer to make the necessary adjustments to balance the budgets.
Thank you. And do I have a second on that motion? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I second the motion.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
No further comments, Your Honor. It's housekeeping.
Okay. Anything else from the commission? All right. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, that brings us to item 7, the city attorney evaluation. City Clerk?
Thank you, Your Honor. The city charter requires an annual performance evaluation of the city attorney. In August, the city commission authorized the mayor to appoint a subcommittee consisting of commissioners Hanley, Ottaway, and Smith to the evaluation committee. The subcommittee met to review the city attorney's performance and compensation earlier this month. The overall evaluation was very positive. The city attorney has successfully met all city charter requirements for her position, and commissioner feedback has been provided to the city attorney directly. The committee recommends the term of the city attorney's contract be extended to September 30th, 2026. In reviewing commissioner recommendations and city budgetary constraints, the committee also recommends the commission revisit the attorney's compensation in the near future. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, approve the city attorney's annual performance evaluation and extend the term of the attorney's contract to September 30th, 2026 at the existing compensation level. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion? Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve the city attorney's annual performance evaluation and extend the term of the attorney's contract to September 30, 2026 at the existing compensation level.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Commissioner Smith?
I guess they're two separate agenda items, but both the city attorney and the city manager, as part of the subcommittee for both, had very positive reviews. At this point in time, we're hoping to just pass the actions and reevaluate the compensation piece once the union contracts have all been reviewed and settled. And I guess that's all I would say on that matter, and not get into the detail at this point in time. But they're both doing a phenomenal job. We are extremely lucky to have both of you. Thank you.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Nothing except I just want to thank Suzanne for a great job. I rarely feel the need to reach out to her, but I always know I can. And I think it's wonderful to have somebody like you on staff. So I look forward to continuing to work with you, and I'm sure everyone around here does as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hanley?
I also had the honor of being on the committee, and the reviews were great for both of you, and it really shows how hard you work. Every level was met at or above what we would expect from your positions, and it's really great to see that happening. So thank you.
Anything else from the commission? Okay. All right. I guess with that, I'm just going to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right. Next is the city manager evaluation. City clerk, background, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. The city charter requires an annual performance evaluation of the city manager. In August, the city commission authorized the mayor to appoint a subcommittee consisting of commissioners Hanley, Ottaway, and Smith to the evaluation committee. The subcommittee met to review the city manager's performance and compensation earlier this month. The overall evaluation was very positive. The manager has successfully met all the city charter requirements for her position, and the majority of city commissioners awarded her the highest rating in all other performance categories. Commissioner comments and suggestions have been provided to the city manager. The committee recommends increasing the length of the city manager's severance terms from 3 to 6 months if terminated without cause, in addition to extending the term of the city manager's contract to September 30th, 2026. In reviewing commissioners' recommendations and city budgetary constraints, the committee also recommends the commission revisit the manager's compensation in the near future. Fiscal effect, none with this action. Recommendation, approve the city manager's evaluation, amend her contract to increase the length of severance term to 6 months if terminated without cause, and extend the term of the manager's contract to September 30th, 2026 at the existing compensation level. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hanley?
I move that we approve the city manager's evaluation, amend her contract to increase the length of severance term to 6 months if terminated without cause, and extend the term of the manager's contract to September 30th, 2026 at the existing compensation level.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Commissioner Hanley?
I feel like we've already said it, but we are very lucky to have you here on board. You have done a great job in the time. It's one of the best decisions I've made as a commissioner was to vote for you to be our city manager, and I'm excited to see what the future brings with you at the helm.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Yeah, I'll make one comment just so the public's aware of the severance increase, and it's a little bit different than the previous evaluation. It kind of suits the needs of somebody who has worked a longer period of time, as the city manager's been here now for a little while. So we all felt the need to increase that amount in case she were ever to, not have this position anymore. It was the right thing to do to make sure she had financial backing to go find another job. So that's why that's there. It's more appropriate along the lines of what other communities are doing, and that's kind of the thought behind that. Other than that, obviously, a huge thank you to Karen. I think the work you do is invaluable. I have a lot more I could say about it, and I will in the future. You know how I feel about you, but I think we're very, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but we're very lucky to have someone of your talents. And thank you so much for all you do.
Anything else from the commission? I'm just going to add for both Karen and Suzanne that I am so grateful that this city has both of you, and I hope the city can retain both of you for a very long time. All right. With that, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, that brings us to item 9, which is the City Hall labor agreement. City Clerk, if you could give us the background, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Marquette has reached an agreement with the City Hall Employees Chapter of AFSCME Local 1852. The bargaining unit has ratified this agreement. The original agreement was effective October 1st, 2021, with contractual wage reopeners for 2022 and 2023, terminating September 30th, 2024. However, the city's bargaining team and the City Hall unit of AFSCME have agreed on wages effective October 1st, 2023, and extending the contract for 2 years. The main issues discussed were the way holidays are treated for employees on flexible work schedules and wages. The agreed-upon wages for the length of the extended contract include increases of 5% for 2023 and 3% for 2024 and 2025. The city's bargaining team commends the City Hall unit of AFSCME for their willingness to work with us to negotiate an agreement that is fair to the employees and to the city. Fiscal effect: for year one, a 5% increase to wages equates to a cost of approximately $67,000. This will require a budget adjustment. Recommendation: approve the City Hall employees' labor agreement extension effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2026, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Hanley.
I move that we approve the City Hall employees' labor agreement extension effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2026, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanley. Commissioner Stonehouse?
I second that motion, Your Honor.
Perfect. Commissioner Hanley?
I just appreciate all the work that the unions and the city staff did to negotiate this contract, and I'm happy that everyone's happy.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Only comment, Your Honor, is I think it's a good and fair contract, and beyond that, it's what we should be doing.
Thank you. Anything else from the commission? Okay. All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right. Item 10, which is the police labor agreement. City Clerk, if you could give us the background, please.
I'm getting in practice. Thank you, Mayor. The City of Marquette has reached a new agreement with the Marquette Professional Police Association, Police Officers Association of Michigan, the POAM. The bargaining unit has ratified this agreement. The main issues during negotiations were rates of pay and overtime provisions. The parties have agreed to a 2-year contract with a 5% wage increase for year one, in addition to a one-time $600 per person law enforcement retention bonus and a 3% wage increase for year two. The city's bargaining team would like to thank the Marquette Professional Police Association for their willingness to work with us to negotiate an agreement that is fair to the employees and the city. Fiscal effect: the total cost for the first year, 5% increase to wages in addition to the one-time $600 law enforcement retention bonus, is roughly $126,400. This will require a budget amendment. Recommendation: approve the Marquette Professional Police Association labor agreement effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2025, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do I have a motion on this item? Commissioner Larson?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Marquette Professional Police Association labor agreement effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2025, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement.
Thank you. And do I have a second on that? Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Larson?
Just like to thank everybody who's involved for, a fair agreement on both sides.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis? Okay. Anything else from the commission? Okay. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, last new business item is the supervisor's labor agreement. And City Clerk, if I could get the background one more time.
We can keep going if we want to. Thank you, Mayor. The City of Marquette has reached a new 4-year agreement with the Supervisory Employees Chapter of AFSCME Local 1852. The bargaining unit has ratified the agreement. The main issues during negotiations were wages, including on-call pay and the conversion of the 2 plant supervisors to exempt status, being paid by salary, in addition to the implementation of flexible work schedules. The parties have agreed to a 4-year contract with a 5% wage increase for year 1 and 3% wage increases for years 2 through 4. The city's bargaining team commends the supervisory unit of AFSCME for their willingness to work with us to negotiate an agreement that is fair to the employees and to the city. Fiscal effect: for year 1, a 5% increase to base wages and an increase of 26 hours annually per non-exempt supervisor in on-call pay equates to a cost of roughly $47,750. This will require a budget adjustment. Recommendation: approve the supervisory employees labor agreement effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2027, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you, City Clerk. Commissioners, do we have a motion on this item? Commissioner Larson?
I'd like to move that we approve the supervisory employees labor agreement effective October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2027, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign the agreement.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Second.
Commissioner Larson?
Again, thanks to everybody involved for making a fair contract.
I'll just say, it's wonderful to see, all of these agreements take place. I think it speaks volumes to kind of what we need to be looking at in the future as far as, really making sure our employees are taken care of. I know our city manager cares about that big time, and I think it's proof in the pudding as we get things kind of moving and these agreements are happening. I think, as we shift our focus in years to come and we look at our budgets, we have to make sure we continue to make sure our people are well taken care of. And I look forward to being a part of trying to do that. Thank you.
I think our city manager has a comment.
Actually, if you don't mind, after the commission comments here, if we don't mind kicking it over to Assistant City Manager Sean Hobbins, who was at the negotiating table and was a key part in getting these through and getting these negotiated. I think he has a couple of things that are important for the context, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to take the liberty on behalf of the negotiating team to say that these 3 contracts on the agenda were the culmination of a lot of work on both sides, but I especially wanted to thank all 3 bargaining units for coming to the table, committing to working with us, and really hammering out something I feel is beneficial to the city and to our employees. So I just want to take a second to recognize those bargaining units and the work they put into this and working with us.
Thank you. Anything else from the commission? I'm just going to add, I was just going to wait for all 3 here, that I am very grateful for all the hard work that the bargaining units put into this, as well as our negotiation team put into these. And, we're seeing on the news every day now, it seems like, about strikes happening across the country, and 3 of our 5 bargaining units we're settling agreements with here tonight. And I think it's a really positive sign about the understanding and collaboration we have from this level, as well as with our staff. So with that, I'm going to call for a vote here. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. All right, that brings us to our second and final public comment session of the evening. Do you have anyone wishing to speak for public comment? Anyone for public comment? Okay. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Which brings us to comments from the commission. We're going to start things off with Commissioner Smith.
I have no comment this evening. Thank you.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Well, Your Honor, just a quick couple, good to get a great presentation from the art folks, what they're doing, where they're going, and how they're going to get there. We should be proud of the work they do. Certainly, we should also be proud that the city was able to settle out with the 3 unions and do that in a fair and equitable way. And as Commissioner Ottaway indicated, we need to do that for people, and we need to have that in our objective, and I think we've been able to accomplish that. And lastly, certainly commendations to both the city manager and the city attorney for the wonderful work, the great work they do for us all the time. These are the people behind the scenes that produce what the citizens of Marquette want and really deserve. And they're doing that at just a terrific ability, and I think one that really is going to have lasting impact on the city of Marquette, lasting impact on our citizens, and how we continue to just really thrive and grow. Thank you, Your Honor.
Commissioner Hanley?
I also kind of want to echo that. You guys have been doing amazing work. We had a massive agenda here today that flew by because the work has already been put in by you and by the staff and by everyone in the weeks and months leading up to this. So it's really nice to see it all coming to a culmination for you. You guys have done a great job, and I want to thank Mary and her staff very much for all the work they did in the budget. I know how hard that had to have been, and you did a great job, so thank you.
Commissioner Larson?
No comment at this time.
Commissioner Ottaway?
Just one more thing. I would like to throw one more thanks towards our city manager as we kind of tie up the budget stuff, and you talk about our arts and culture things that are here. One of the things that were brought up in public comment was how arts and culture leads to economic development. I think it's a really important thing to talk about. I think it also really goes into how the budget plays. You know, one of the things as commissioners in public we keep hearing and talking about is, in future years we're going to be better off. We're going to be better off. But I think it really is important that we continue to look for revenue streams and really urge our city manager and support her to do those things. That way we can make sure we stay ahead of the game from a financial standpoint. So thank you once again to Karen. Suzanne, not meaning to sell you short here, but I work more directly with Karen, as you know. But we are very lucky to have 2 really good people on staff that we oversee from the city commission standpoint. But thank you, Your Honor.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
After I told you I wasn't going to say anything, I do have something to say. I do feel very honored and privileged to be on this commission while the 2 of you, Karen and Suzanne, are helping lead the city. Suzanne provides us monthly reports to the commission, and it has been an education to me to learn about all of the very difficult things that she deals with on a regular basis. And Karen, we all provide feedback on these evaluations. You probably know which ones came from me. So I don't need to add to that, but I'm very grateful that as much attention you are paying to how we are moving towards a very solid financial future and what that does for our citizenry and our community. Finally, it's 6 weeks from now, we will be having an election, and during that time, those of us who are city voters will be electing 3 commissioners, and you'll also be voting for the Board of Light and Power. And I assume that the absentee ballots are going to go out soon. So if you want to wait for it, October 12th is a League of Women Voters candidate forum where you can listen to the questions that the public has for them and their responses. So put that on your calendar for October 12th at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. at the Kaufman Auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to kick it over to our city manager here if she has any comments for us.
If Thank you, and I just want to thank all of you and to the public for really getting involved and helping us get through a really important agenda. All of these items on here were incredibly critical for daily operations, but then there's also some fun stuff that's in there as well. So I really appreciate all of the support, and I'm looking forward to another great year. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we are adjourned at 7:10 PM.